Welcome to Money Attitude.
We all know, for the most part, we learn very little to nothing about the subject of money in school. And so what we learn about money oftentimes is handed down from parent to child. And those are the ideas that we have relative to the subject of money. And my poor dad always said, "Do you think money grows on trees?" And his favorite words were, I'd say, "Dad, let's buy this." He goes, "I can't afford it." And my rich dad said he forbade his son and I from ever saying the words, "I can't afford it." He said, the moment you say you can't afford something, it becomes true. So the power of the spoken word or your thought has the ability to become what you think is real in the world. So if you say, "I can't afford something," that becomes your real world or reality. And what my rich dad said instead was, instead of saying "I can't afford it," simply say, "How can I afford it?" Or in school, a lot of times, I'd say, "Hey, Dad, guess what? I'm going to be a millionaire." He goes, "You can't do that." And my rich dad said, never say you can't do something. Ask yourself, how can I do it? And he said, and just in the switching of those words, if you say, "How can I afford it?" your mind opens up to the possibility. And your mind then has to go to work. This is your single most powerful tool you have, is the brain. But if you say, "I can't afford it," then the thing goes to sleep and it sits there, goes dormant, and doesn't have to do any more work. You're the one who's doing the work then. So those are some of the subtle, differences. My poor dad, the school teacher, the head of education, always said to me, he says, "Son, go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job, high-paying job, and work hard." And my rich dad said, "That's a good idea if you want to work hard all your life." He says, "But if you want to get rich, you have to learn how to have money work hard for you so you don't have to work for it. And you also have to learn to buy companies. Don't be the guy applying for the job, be the guy that's handing out the job." And point number one is that I realized very early on in life, money is a what? Idea. It's whatever you think it is. Now, when people say, "Well, how can I get more money?" I say, well, just first change the way you think, change your ideas. That's the good news. That's all you have to do. I realize when I talk to people about money, I'm slamming straight into their ideas. And a lot of times with money, there's several subjects you don't talk about at the dinner table: sex, religion, politics, and money, and whatever. And the reason for that is it's a very volatile subject. Whereas in my family, my poor dad, the school teacher family, was, "I'm not interested in money. Money's not that important to me." I began to realize that was my poor dad's idea, it was his attitude. Whereas my rich dad always said to me, "Money is power. Money gives you power. Respect it. Treat it respectfully." So there's all these different ideas about the subject of money. The thing I hear people say is, "I'll never be rich." And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you see. And that's why money, just as an idea, is so powerful. And when I talk to people, I oftentimes ask them, I said, "What did your parents tell you about the subject of money?" Because that becomes real. If you were told, "Go to school and get a job," see, many of us may not be in the same profession, but we're following the same path. And most people did not come from families that were rich. In America, less than 1 out of 100 people at age 65 becomes rich. In the richest country in the world, 1 out of 100. 4 become wealthy. I think 56% are dependent upon the government or a pension to take care of them. And they start going downhill. So what I had to do, what I'm going to be talking to you about, is I had to watch my ideas, I had to watch what I said, and I had to watch who was giving me the ideas. Okay? Because they're not the same. Like you go to one doctor and they say, eat a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. You go to another doctor, they say, eat a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet. Somewhere you got to make your choice. Number two, the thing that I learned, I realized that money doesn't make you what? Rich. Because my poor dad made more money than my rich dad. So I think one of the biggest mistakes we've been going into is a lot of times people actually think, if I win the lottery, then I'll be rich. Or if I go to Vegas or gamble or my luck changes, then I'll be rich. It has nothing to do with it. Money is a very powerful tool, as my rich dad used to say. If you use it well, it'll make you richer. If you abuse it, it'll make you poor. So one of the big things that my poor dad made the mistake of saying, he always thought that if he got a pay raise, that would solve his money problems. And the trouble is, every time he got a pay raise, he got bigger problems. So it made him poorer and poorer the more money he made. And then the third thing was that there's two kinds of money problems. One problem is not enough money. The other problem is too much money. And they're both problems. And the thing that I say to people is this, that, like I think most people think they're real special. I'm the only one with money problems. Well, the reality is everybody has money problems. Everybody. Every single person. Every company has money problems. Every country has money problems. Every government has money problems. Everybody has a money problem. What makes you rich or poor or middle class is how you challenge or handle the problem. And what most people do, since, so most of us came from families where the problem was too much or too little. Too little. And that becomes our idea. We think money is scarce, hard to get, work hard for it. Very popular idiom going around today suggesting that the way you get rich is cut up your credit cards, live below your means. Those are poor people's mentalities. Save, go long term, buy mutual funds. And it's not a rich person's way of thinking. Now, the point I'm making here, again, there's poor, middle class, and rich. And very early on in my life, I really realized that being poor and struggling did not look good on my face. I did not like it. But I grew up in a family that if you were rich, the idea was that you were crooked, evil, not caring, inhuman, not generous, and all that stuff. So if I said I want to be rich, then I went against my family's values. It was tough having that. Now, the other thing I saw was that by my rich dad managing his money well and becoming a business owner and an investor, that he got richer and richer and richer. Then he had a different kind of problem. His problem was too much money. And my rich dad said to me when I was about 18 or 19 years old, he said, son, there's two kinds of problems. Not enough, too much. Which one do you want? And it's a very big problem. So knowing these three different things, I could make different distinctions and different choices in my life. The big point I want to make today is that money comes down to fundamentally a choice. And so, as a young boy having two dads starting at age 9, I had to make a choice of which dad I was going to listen to. And it was a tough decision. But their ideas were almost polarized, completely opposite. And I made that choice. When I came back from Vietnam, they said, I got my bachelor's degree. I got that Bachelor of Science. They said, now, son, you are going for your master's, aren't you? I said, I kind of doubt it. I said, I'm not going to get a job. And it's hard. You sit at the dinner table, there's no conversation. They came from the government model that it was not what you did, it was how high, what your degree was that you got paid by. And that's their reality. It's not my reality. So I had to make a choice. And the thing I say to people is that in many ways I'm more like my poor dad. When I retired in 1994, sold my company and all this, I was set for life. I realized that I'd been too much like my rich dad. And that I wanted to run the second half of my life more like my poor dad, but I was going to teach people what my rich dad taught me. And that was a decision I made. But the thing is, it's a choice. And my propensity, my natural inclination, my genetic makeup, my mental makeup is more to be poor. I have to fight my natural inclination to go for job security, to play it safe, save money, invest for the long term, all that other rot my father believed in. The point I'm making here is this. Every morning I get up, I still make the same choice. Every morning I get up, I make the choice. Do I make the choice to be poor, middle class, or rich? And we all have that choice. We have to, as individuals, make that choice.